All right, so you want to know how to get motivated and like really stay driven?
Yeah,
You've come to the right place because in this deep dive, we are going to be looking at the science of motivation.
that's right.
And we've got research articles, studies, even some opinions from experts on motivation.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not all about willpower.
It's really a lot more complex.
It's fascinating.
It is.
So let's start with the basics. Like,
Yeah.
what is motivation,
Well,
really?
I think a lot of people think they know what motivation is, but when you really get down to it, it's a much more kind of intricate process than a lot of people might think.
Right.
It's not just, a feeling or, something that hits you every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's actually a very complex interplay of a lot of different factors.
So it's not just like a switch you flip on and off?
No, not at all.
It's more like a,
It's more like a system.
yeah.
It's affected by your biology, by your emotions,
Oh,
your social life, your thoughts. All of these things contribute to what we call motivation.
okay, so you're telling me there's a biological component to this.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
There are certain chemicals in our brains, like dopamine, for example, that are really associated with pleasure and reward.
Oh, yeah.
And those chemicals play a huge role in motivation.
So like when we achieve something,
Exactly.
we get like a dopamine hit,
You got it.
and then that makes us want to like achieve more things.
Right. And that feeling of reward that we get when we accomplish something that reinforces the behavior and makes us want to do it again.
Okay, so that's the biology part of it, but then you said there's also like the emotional side.
Absolutely. Emotions play a huge role in motivation.
Right.
Think about it when you're feeling excited or passionate about something.
You're way more likely to like pursue it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when you're feeling anxious or stressed out,
Ah, forget it.
it can really sap your motivation.
Right. I can totally relate to that. Like if I'm feeling overwhelmed with like work or life stuff, it's like really hard to find the motivation to do anything else.
Absolutely. I think we've all been there.
Right.
So managing those emotions, finding ways to kind of cultivate positive emotions is really important for staying motivated.
And then you also mentioned like the social aspect of motivation.
That's right.
So like how does that work?
Well, we're social creatures by nature,
Right.
and the people around us can have a huge impact on our motivation.
So like if you're surrounded by people who are super motivated and driven,
It's contagious.
it is. Yeah.
You're more likely to be motivated yourself.
But then on the flip side, if you're surrounded by people who are kind of like negative and uninspired,
It can really drag you down.
right, it's like
Yeah.
you have to be mindful of like the company you keep.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got biology, emotions, social, but then what about our thoughts?
Oh, this is a big one. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our mindset.
Yeah.
All of that plays a crucial role in motivation.
Mm. So it's like that whole like self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Yeah. If you believe you can achieve something, you're much more likely to put in the effort and actually make it happen.
But then if you're constantly like doubting yourself,
It's going to be tough to stay motivated.
right?
Your thoughts can really either sabotage you or propel you forward.
So like how do we make sure our thoughts are working for us and not against us?
That's a great question, and one that we're going to dive into a little bit later, but it really comes down to developing a growth mindset,
Right.
which is all about believing in your ability to learn and improve.
So like instead of saying I'm not good at this.
You say, I can get better at this
Yeah.
with practice and effort.
Okay, so we've talked about like what motivations, all these different components, but I think a lot of people are probably wondering like what's the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation?
Ah, yes, that's a classic question and one that's really important to understand.
Right, because I hear those terms thrown around all the time, but I'm not always sure I fully grasp the distinction.
Well, simply put, intrinsic motivation is about doing something because you genuinely enjoy it. You find it personally rewarding.
Okay, so like I love to paint. I
Exactly.
don't do it for any other reason than like the pure joy of it.
That's intrinsic motivation right there.
Okay.
And then you have extrinsic motivation, which is about doing something because you're driven by external rewards or consequences.
So like I work extra hours because I want to get a bonus.
You got it.
Or I go to the gym because I don't want to feel bad about myself.
Exactly.
So it's like the motivation is coming from outside of me.
That's right.
Okay, so intrinsic is like from within, extrinsic is like from without.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing both are important.
You are. But I think a lot of people would agree that intrinsic motivation is where the real magic happens.
Really? Why is that?
Well, when you're intrinsically motivated, you're more likely to be engaged, persistent, and ultimately successful in whatever you're doing.
Hmm.
Think about it. If you're doing something you love, You don't need any external pressure to keep going.
It's like you're just naturally drawn to it.
Exactly. It's almost effortless.
So how do we tap into that intrinsic motivation more often?
Well, that's a great question and one that we'll explore in more depth, but
Right.
it often starts with identifying your values, your passions, the things that truly light you up.
And then finding ways to align your goals and actions with those things.
Precisely because when your actions are aligned with your values, that's where you find that deep sense of purpose and fulfillment.
And that's what keeps you going.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture here, but I'm also curious about like the role of extrinsic motivation.
Right.
Because it sounds like you're saying it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all.
Okay.
Extrinsic motivation can actually be incredibly powerful in some pretty surprising ways.
So it's like you're not saying we should avoid external rewards and deadlines and stuff.
Not necessarily. It's more about understanding how to use them effectively.
Okay, so you're telling me that those external rewards, deadlines, even the fear of messing up can actually be good for motivation.
In the right context, absolutely.
Okay.
Think about it. There are always tasks we need to do that might not be inherently fun,
Right.
but they still need to get done.
Yeah.
And sometimes that external push is what gets us started.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, I'm not sure about you, but I don't particularly enjoy doing my taxes.
Oh, no, me neither.
But knowing that I have a deadline and that I could face penalties if I don't file on time, well, that's definitely motivating.
Right.
It's not that I suddenly love doing taxes, but that external pressure helps me overcome that initial resistance.
So it's like sometimes you need that little kick in the pants.
Exactly. And here's the truly fascinating part. Studies have shown that this extrinsic motivation can actually lead to intrinsic motivation over time.
And that's a twist.
It is.
Tell me more.
So imagine you're learning to play the piano.
Oh, okay.
At first, you might be motivated by external factors like wanting to impress someone.
Or like reach a certain level.
Right, or achieve a specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
But as you start practicing and getting better, you might discover a real passion for music.
Wow.
That initial external push actually ignited a genuine love for the activity itself.
So it's like you start with the external motivation and then you kind of like stumble upon this internal enjoyment.
Precisely, it's like a stepping stone.
I like that.
You start with the external motivation, and as you get more involved, you discover the internal enjoyment.
Okay. But I'm guessing it's not like every type of extrinsic motivation leads to intrinsic motivation.
You're right about that. The type of external motivation definitely matters.
So like what kind of extrinsic motivation is more likely to have that positive spillover effect?
Well, if it's based on fear, pressure, or shame, it's probably not going to lead to that genuine love for the activity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You want those external motivators to feel positive and encouraging.
Right, like you want to feel like you're moving towards something good, not like running away from something bad.
Exactly. And that brings us to a theory that really digs into this whole idea of motivation.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's called self-determination theory.
Self-determination theory.
Yeah. Have you heard of it?
I think I've heard the term, but I'm not sure I could explain it.
Well, it's a fascinating theory that highlights our natural drive to grow and learn.
Okay.
But for that to happen, we need to feel three key things: autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
All right, break those down for me.
Autonomy is that feeling of being in control of your actions and choices.
Okay.
Competence is about believing you have the skills to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And relatedness is that sense of connection and belonging with others.
Okay, so like if I want to learn a new language,
Yes.
self-determination theory would say I need to feel like I'm in control of my learning.
Right.
I need to believe that I can actually become fluent.
Yeah.
And I need to feel like I'm part of like a community of language learners.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, so it's not just about like memorizing vocabulary words and grammar rules.
No, it's about creating an environment that supports your natural desire to learn and grow.
And I'm guessing that applies to pretty much any goal we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Whether you're trying to learn a new skill, start a business, or improve your relationships, those three elements, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, are crucial.
That's really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah, it does.
Because when you feel like you're in control, you're confident in your abilities, and you're connected to others, it just makes everything feel more achievable.
Right.
And that feeling of achievability is key.
Yeah.
Which brings us to another important theory, goal-setting theory.
Goal-setting theory.
This one's a bit more straightforward.
All right, tell me about it.
Essentially, it suggests that setting specific and challenging goals helps you perform better.
So it's not enough to just say, like, I want to be healthier.
No, you need to get specific.
Like, I want to run a 5K in 3 months.
Exactly. That specificity tricks your brain into action.
Oh, interesting.
It's like having a clear target to aim for.
So instead of just like wandering around aimlessly, you've got like a roadmap.
Exactly. And that makes a big difference.
It does.
Because when you have a specific goal in mind, you're more likely to create a plan, take action, and ultimately achieve what you set out to do.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Now, I'm also curious about this idea of embracing challenges because it
Indeed.
seems a little bit counterintuitive, but our sources suggest that like stepping outside of our comfort zone can actually boost motivation.
That's right.
How does that work?
Well, think about it. When you push yourself and succeed at something you thought was difficult,
Yeah.
you get this incredible feeling of accomplishment.
You do.
It's like you've proven to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought.
Yeah.
And that feeling of accomplishment is incredibly motivating.
So it's like a positive feedback loop?
Exactly.
Hmm.
You challenge yourself, you succeed, you feel good, you're more motivated to challenge yourself again.
So it's not about avoiding discomfort altogether.
No, it's about recognizing that discomfort is often a sign of growth
I like that.
and that pushing your boundaries can lead to some amazing breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's important to find that sweet spot between challenge and overwhelm.
Right.
You don't want to push yourself so far that you get discouraged and give up,
Yeah.
but a little bit of discomfort can be a powerful motivator.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about what motivation is, those key theories, and even some of the surprising ways motivation works.
We have.
But I want to get into like some practical strategies. Like
Right.
what are some tangible things we can do to boost our motivation?
Well, our sources highlighted 6 specific brain hacks for staying motivated.
Brain hacks. I like it.
Uh,
All right, give me brain hack number 1.
Brain hack number 1, SMART goals.
Okay, so we talked about goal setting theory before, but what makes a goal smart?
SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So it's like we're taking that general idea of setting goals and we're making it super concrete.
Exactly, because when you have a SMART goal, you have a clear roadmap for success.
Okay, I'm liking this brain hack already.
Good.
All right, what's brain hack number 2?
Brain hack number 2, find your why.
Find your why.
Yeah, ask yourself why this goal truly matters to you.
Okay.
What will achieving it bring to your life?
So it's like connecting with that deeper purpose.
Exactly, because when you have a strong why, it's much easier to push through those inevitable challenges and stay committed.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired already.
Tickler.
All right, what's brain hack number 3?
Break down those tasks.
Break down the tasks.
Yeah, remember that elephant?
Oh, yeah, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Right.
Big goals can be overwhelming, so chop them up into smaller bite-sized pieces.
So it's all about making it feel less daunting.
Exactly. And each time you complete one of those smaller tasks, you get this sense of accomplishment that propels you forward.
Okay, so no more getting intimidated by the huge task ahead.
No more overwhelm.
We're just taking it one step at a time.
That's the key.
Okay, brain hack number 4, hit me.
This one might seem counterintuitive, but it's embrace challenges.
Embrace challenge. Wait, I thought we were trying to make things easier.
Well, discomfort can actually boost motivation.
Really? How does that work?
Think about it. When you push yourself outside of your comfort zone and succeed, you gain confidence and a sense of accomplishment.
Right, it's like leveling up in a video game.
Exactly.
Every challenge you overcome makes you feel more capable.
And that makes you more motivated to take on the next challenge.
Oh, okay, I'm starting to see how this works.
Good.
All right, what's brain hack number 5?
Seek support.
Sort of support.
Don't be afraid to share your goals with people you trust.
Okay.
They can provide encouragement, accountability, and maybe even some helpful advice.
So we all need a cheerleader in our corner sometime.
We do, and having someone to hold us accountable can make a big difference.
I can definitely see that.
All right, ready for brain hack number 6?
I am.
Practice self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, be kind to yourself.
This is so important,
It is.
especially when we're pursuing challenging goals.
Exactly. Setbacks happen.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. It is. Don't beat yourself up if things don't go perfectly.
It's all about progress, not perfection, right?
Exactly.
All right, so we've got 6 amazing strategies for boosting motivation.
We do.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
What's that?
Tech tools.
Ah, yes.
Can technology actually help us stay motivated?
It can be a great supplement, but it's important to remember that it's just a tool.
Right.
Technology shouldn't replace understanding your own motivations and setting meaningful goals.
Totally agree. But it can definitely lend a helping hand.
Absolutely.
So our sources mentioned 3 main types of tech that can be useful. What are they?
Well, first up, we have fitness apps.
Fitness apps.
Think Strava, MyFitnessPal, or Headspace.
Okay, yeah.
They help you track progress, set reminders, and even offer that social connection we talked about.
I love how those apps make it feel like a game.
Right. Sometimes a little gamification is all you need to stay engaged.
Totally. And then what was the second type of tech tool?
Good old-fashioned digital reminders.
Reminders.
Just setting a simple alert on your phone can do wonders for keeping your goals top of mind.
Oh my gosh, I use reminders for everything.
They're so helpful.
It's such a simple but effective way to stay on track.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then what was the third type of tech tool?
This one's all about online communities.
Online communities.
Yeah, whether it's a forum, a Facebook group, or just connecting with like-minded people on social media, finding your tribe online can provide a huge boost of motivation and support.
Yeah, because it's like you're not in this alone.
Exactly.
There are other people out there who are working towards similar goals, and they can relate to what you're going through.
And they can offer encouragement and advice and just that sense of camaraderie that can be so helpful.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored what motivation is.
Yes.
The fascinating ways intrinsic and extrinsic motivation work together. Two key theories.
That's right.
And even some actionable brain hacks and tech tools.
Good?
But we're not done yet.
No, we're just getting started.
In the next part, we're going to get even more practical.
We are.
We'll dive deeper into how you can apply all of this knowledge to your own life.
That's right.
And finally achieve those goals you've been dreaming of.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive on the science of motivation.
It's so good to be back. I'm ready for more.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, we did a lot of groundwork in that last part.
We did.
We talked about what motivation is, those different theories,
Okay.
those brain hacks.
Yeah.
Now it's time to really put it into practice.
Ready. Let's do it.
All right. So think about like a goal that you've been putting off.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to write that novel you've always dreamed of, or start that business, or even learn a new language or a skill.
Maybe finally unpack those boxes from when you moved.
Yeah, that's a good one. We all have those kind of goals.
Yeah.
They're in the back of our minds.
Right.
But where do you even begin with something like that?
Well, I think it starts with understanding your why.
Exactly. Remember, brain hack number 2.
Find your why.
Find your why. That's it. Ask yourself why this goal really matters to you. What will achieving it bring to your life?
Yeah, because when you have that strong why, it's like this compass, like a driving force.
Exactly. It's your fuel.
Yeah.
It's what keeps you going when things get tough. And believe me, they will get tough.
Because obstacles are just a part of life, right?
They are.
Yeah.
But understanding those intrinsic motivations, those whys, can really help you push through.
So we've got our why figured out.
Okay.
What's next?
Well, now it's time to bring in those SMART goals.
Oh, yeah. SMART goals.
So we want to make sure those goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
So if your goal is to write that novel, don't just say, I want to write a book.
Right.
Really think about it. How many words do you want to write every day? By when do you want to finish that first draft?
Yeah, because if you don't have that clear plan, it's like you're just wandering around aimlessly.
Exactly. Having those milestones makes such a big difference.
It does.
And don't be afraid to break those tasks down.
Right, those big, daunting tasks.
Yeah, like I'm going to write 1 chapter this week, or even I'm going to write 1 page today.
Right.
So each time you finish one, you get that little boost.
Like that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. And then that makes you want to do more. It kind of creates that positive cycle.
So it's all about momentum, right?
Exactly.
And speaking of support, we talked about that earlier.
We did. That was brain hack number 5.
Seek support.
Seek support.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to tell people your goals.
Right, because we all need a cheerleader sometimes.
We do. And having someone to hold you accountable can really make a difference.
Yeah, because sometimes if you only tell yourself, it's easy to just brush it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Having that external accountability can really help.
Yeah.
And, along those same lines, let's talk about self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Brain hack number 6.
Yeah.
We all need to be a little bit kinder to ourselves.
We do.
Especially when we're pursuing those hard goals.
Right, because it's not always going to be easy. There are going to be setbacks.
Absolutely. There will be days when you just don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
You might even question whether or not you can do it.
Oh, totally.
But it's so important not to beat yourself up.
Yeah, just acknowledge those feelings.
Yes.
Give yourself permission to rest and then, get back on track when you're ready.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I like that.
All right, so now let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about those tech tools.
Yeah, because in the last part, we touched on how technology can play a role in motivation,
Right.
but how,
So those fitness apps, they can be really, really useful.
oh, yeah, like for tracking your progress setting, reminders,
Exactly.
and connecting with like a community.
And it's not just fitness anymore.
Hmm.
There are apps for like learning languages, building habits, pretty much
I
anything.
love that it's like having a little coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And then there are those simple digital reminders.
Reminders.
Use them for everything. Like scheduling workouts, blocking out time for creative projects, even just drinking enough water.
Because it's so easy to just get caught up in the day.
Oh, it is. And then forget to do those
And then you're
things.
like, wait, I was supposed to?
Yeah, those reminders can really help.
They really can.
And then, of course, there are those online communities.
Right, finding your tribe.
Exactly. And whether you're looking for support, accountability, inspiration, connecting with other people who are into the same things as you or working towards similar goals can be so motivating.
It's true, and it's so cool how technology allows us to connect with people all over the world.
It is, it creates this sense of belonging and shared purpose that can really make a difference.
It does. So, we've talked about a lot of great strategies and tools
Yeah?
for boosting motivation.
Go ahead.
Like, what are some key takeaways that you want listeners to remember?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is that motivation isn't just about willpower. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate.
Hmm.
It's about really understanding the science and using it to your advantage.
Yeah, it's about creating an environment that supports your natural drive.
Exactly. So by tapping into those intrinsic motivations, setting those SMART goals, breaking down the tasks, embracing challenges, seeking support, being kind to yourself, and even leveraging technology, you can really unlock a whole new level of motivation.
I love that. And the best part is that this is just the beginning.
There's so much more to explore.
There is so much more to explore in the world of motivation.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 3 of this deep dive, where we're going to uncover even more fascinating and maybe unexpected aspects of motivation.
Okay, I am definitely intrigued. I can't wait. All right, so we're back for the final part of our motivation deep dive.
We are.
And I'm so excited for this because you were saying there are some really like surprising things
There are.
about motivation that we're going to uncover.
Yeah, we're going to challenge some assumptions today.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so, we've talked a lot about intrinsic motivation.
Right, that drive from within,
Yeah,
the enjoyment.
exactly. And then we also talked about extrinsic motivation.
Right. Those external rewards and deadlines.
Yeah, and there's this idea that extrinsic motivation is kind of like the bad guy.
Right. Like it's not as good.
Yeah, but it's not that simple.
Okay.
Actually, our sources suggest that extrinsic motivation, when used strategically, can be really powerful.
Okay, so tell me more about the strategic use of extrinsic motivation.
Well, think about all those things we have to do that aren't necessarily fun,
Right.
but we still got to do them.
Right, like laundry.
Exactly. Laundry or, paying bills or
Right.
going to the dentist.
Yeah.
Those things might not be inherently enjoyable,
No.
but sometimes we need that external push.
Right, like a deadline.
Yeah, a deadline, a reward, or even just avoiding negative consequences.
Yeah.
That can be what gets us moving.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, and here's the really interesting part. Research suggests that extrinsic motivation can actually fuel intrinsic motivation over time.
Wait, so you're telling me that like those external rewards can actually lead to me genuinely enjoying the activity?
Exactly.
How does that work?
Well, imagine you're starting a new job. At first, you might be motivated by the salary, the benefits,
Just
the
kidding.
opportunity for advancement.
Mm-hmm.
But as you gain experience, as you master new skills, you might actually discover a passion for the work itself.
Wow.
So those external factors were kind of like a gateway
I like that.
to something you actually end up loving.
So it's not about like choosing one over the other. It's about understanding how they work together.
Exactly. They can work together to create this powerful synergy.
So what kind of extrinsic motivators are more likely to lead to that like intrinsic motivation?
Well, the ones that are aligned with your values and your long-term goals.
Okay.
So if you're motivated by fear, pressure, or shame, that's probably not going to lead to that genuine enjoyment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you're motivated by something that you truly care about,
Yeah.
then it's more likely to have that positive spillover effect.
Okay, so it's all about like being intentional with the types of extrinsic motivators that we're using.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, something else that I'm curious about that we haven't really touched on yet is this idea of discomfort
Discomfort.
and how it can actually play a role in motivation.
That's something that came up in our sources, and I was really intrigued by it too.
Yeah, because I always thought like motivation was about making things easier and more enjoyable,
Right.
but they're saying discomfort.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between healthy discomfort and overwhelming stress.
Okay.
Like that feeling of pushing your boundaries,
Hmm.
that can actually be really motivating.
Really?
Yeah, think about it when you challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You grow,
Right, right.
you learn,
Mm-hmm.
you expand your
Yeah.
capabilities. And that process can be uncomfortable,
It can.
but it's also incredibly rewarding.
So it's like the discomfort is kind of like a signal that you're on the right track.
Exactly. It means
Yeah.
you're growing, you're learning, you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
So it's not about like avoiding discomfort at all costs.
No, it's about recognizing that it's often a necessary part of the process.
And then the rewards come later.
Right. So, like, the more you embrace that healthy discomfort, the more resilient you become.
So it's like building mental muscle.
Exactly. The more you challenge yourself, the stronger you get.
Okay, now I know we've talked about mindset before,
We have.
but I want to dive a little deeper into that
Okay.
because it seems like mindset is like really crucial for motivation.
It is. Our sources really emphasize the importance of a growth mindset.
Right, that whole idea that you can learn and grow.
Yeah. Versus being stuck with what you've got.
Exactly.
With a fixed mindset, if you fail at something, you're likely to see it as proof that you're just not good at it.
Right.
But with a growth mindset, you view those challenges as opportunities.
Right, so it's all about how you interpret those setbacks.
Exactly. So with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenges, persist in the face of obstacles, and ultimately achieve your goals.
So how do we develop this growth mindset?
Well, one powerful strategy is to focus on the process
Yeah.
rather than just the outcome.
Okay.
So celebrate your effort and progress,
Yeah.
even if you haven't achieved your ultimate goal yet.
Right, it's about the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And don't be afraid to ask for help or feedback along the way.
Yeah, because nobody's perfect.
No,
We all need help sometimes.
we do. Learning and growing is a continuous process.
Well, I have to say this whole deep dive has been so insightful.
It has been fun, hasn't it?
It has. We've uncovered so many like surprising and empowering truths about motivation.
We have. And, the best part is that this knowledge is available to everyone.
It is.
And by applying these principles to our lives, we can really unlock a level of motivation and achievement that we never thought possible.
It's all about understanding the science and using it to our advantage.
Exactly.
Well, this has been such a fantastic journey,
It has.
exploring the science of motivation.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and insights.
It was my pleasure, and thank you to everyone out there for listening.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on this motivation adventure.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.